647. Bill Cosby, he's now saying that he has immunity in this case, the sexual assault case against him, based on a deal he made with a former prosecutor. Could this be? Let's talk to Chris Lewis, a criminal defense attorney. He's tried over 200 jury trials himself. Chris, great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this whole deal, because apparently he made a kind of a verbal deal. This goes back to the civil case in 2005. When you hear him talking about this immunity deal, do you think that this could really hold up?
You know, when I first heard it, I thought it was kind of just a last gasp effort on his part to avoid prison time. The more I'm hearing about it, it may actually have some legs to it.
And how does it work? Go ahead. Well, first of all, how does it typically work that you can get immunity this way?
Well, the way it typically happens is the government wants some sort of information that you have. Obviously, everyone enjoys a right against self-incrimination, so they offer you something for it. Most of the time, we hear about it in terms of a multiple defendant case where they want one person to give information about another, but in that the bargain is that the person given information will somehow prevent liability on their part. In this situation, I don't know why immunity would have been given. It seems to me, just by looking at the circumstantial evidence, it was given because there would be no other reason for him to get on the record under oath and say the things he said in a civil deposition if he still was worrying about the criminal implications of that. So
really, could he have rejected the deposition altogether, or he could have just not testified? Is that how it works?
Well, the way it works in a civil deposition when you have a criminal defendant is he can get up, he can appear for the deposition, and then his criminal lawyer would have been present as well at the deposition, and then just told him to claim the Fifth
Amendment throughout the deposition. In this case, he did not. Uh-huh.
That's right. He did not. And then what we've seen, now we're having the former DA and the current DA fighting with each other. And the reason why the charges were filed when they were, I guess they could have done it earlier, but they were butting up against a 12-year statute of limitations.
So if it turns out apparently there's no evidence of a signed immunity agreement. Is that necessary, or can it be verbal?
No, it's not necessary, but it makes things much more tenuous. Typically, especially if you're the defendant, you want those things in writing. That way, if somebody comes back forward, to come back at some point in the future and try to prosecute you, then you have that. Now we just have essentially all of these lawyers saying that one person said another. They also said that the victim's attorney apparently acquiesced to this, and now the victim's attorney is saying, no, I never said this. I never knew anything about an immunity agreement. It's going to be left to the judge to try to figure it out.
Although the former prosecutor in February is likely to say that he, in fact, did agree to this immunity deal. What happens to the case if that is, in fact, what happened and the judge agrees to it?
If the judge thinks there's an immunity agreement, it's like any other contract. It was relied on by the Cosby camp. Otherwise, they wouldn't have this information that's being used to charge him.
So
I think the case goes away.
Oh, the case goes away, but not necessarily this evidence, you're saying? The entire case disappears?
Well, he's been found guilty in the court of public opinion, but this evidence is his case. His confession essentially is the case. If that goes away, I think the entire case goes away.
And you think the prosecutor will drop it, even though he's come out publicly and pursued it this way? He'll just drop it right there and then?
Well, this hearing happens on February 2nd, and if you look back, the original purpose of that hearing was to see if there was enough evidence to proceed anyway. And this testimony, his confession, was the evidence going to get him over that hurdle. I don't think the current prosecutor, will have a choice but to let that case go.
I mean,
either that or let the judge make the decision.
Is a judge likely to believe a former prosecutor who comes in and says, "Hey, I made a deal, an immunity deal"?
I would think that that's very strong evidence. Not only that, but the fact that he didn't charge him when he had his confession in the civil deposition. I think that's very good evidence for the Bill Cosby camp.
Oh, you're saying that's evidence that there was an immunity deal, otherwise he would have charged him.
That's right.
Chris Lewis, criminal defense attorney. CraneLewis.com is the website, CraneLewis.com. Chris, thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Yep.